Hello and welcome back to Model Railroading 101. I'm your host, John Abaticola. Last time on Model Railroading 101, we took a look at JMRI and Y-throttle. I showed you how to hook up a USB interface called a SPROG to a computer on one end and a track on the other, so that JMRI could communicate with the decoders in my locomotives. Then I speed matched two locomotives on a small circle of track by using Y-throttle to consist and run the locomotives, and Decoder Pro inside JMRI to change CVs on the fly. Just a quick reminder here, Model Railroading 101 is intended to introduce you to, and in some cases show you how to do, cool things with your model railroad. Because of the nature of a program that's recorded and edited like this ahead of time, some things inevitably get left out because the presenter can't show you every possible variable. Sometimes things are omitted because they're simple enough for you to find out on your own. Also, keep in mind that this program is not being presented specifically as a vehicle for manufacturers or hobby shops to advertise themselves. So we'll almost never go into detail about where to buy something or where to find a product that's commonly available or very easy to find with an internet search. If you see a product used in a demonstration on this program that piques your interest, your best bet is to go straight to your favorite search engine or your local hobby shop when the program's over and look for it there. So let's talk about this episode. Now that we've covered how to use JMRI through a SPROG device, we should take a look at using JMRI with one of the major DCC systems. I have John Wiley standing by at the workbench to show us how he uses JMRI with his Digitrax system to do some really cool stuff with his models. Let's go to the workbench.
Hey everyone, it's Wiley here. I'm at the TSG Multimedia Empire workbench today. We're going to talk about Dakota Pro, how to get your system connected to your computer, how to use a programming track, how to use programming on the main track, and some other advanced features of Dakota Pro. We're going to be demonstrating Dakota Pro using a Digitrax system today. So we have our Mac, our computer here. We have our Digitrax Zephyr or DCS51. This is our all-in-one command station. I have a separate Digitrax throttle just to make some things easier. And then I also have a local buffer, which is made by RR Circuits. This connects our computer to our Digitrax command station. I have a track here that is wired up to be our main track, just like the main track on your layout. And then I have a second track that is connected to be our programming track. I'm just using some basic alligator clips and test cables to connect them today since this is all temporary. Additionally, some people will take a switch, and you can switch between programming and main, and that way you don't have to have two separate physical tracks. We'll do a brief walkthrough of the physical connections between the computer and the Digitrax system, since some people have asked about that. We have a USB cable connected to our laptop here. The USB cable runs to the RR Circuits local buffer. That then uses this silver LocoNet cable to go from the local buffer to our command station. So we've turned our command station around so you can see the wiring connections. You can see each port on the connector has labeled rail A, rail B. Those are your main, that's to your main track, your main DCC track. Then you have programming A and programming B, and those go to your programming track. Which rail is A and which rail is B is not important so long as they're the same all over your layout if you happen to have multiple wiring connections. The other ports on here we won't go into today, but they do have other uses. And then finally, on the end here you see LocoNet A, LocoNet B. These are the cables that connect to your local buffer for your computer. And then the other cable I'm currently using to connect my handheld throttle here so that I can do engine functions for demonstrations later. Once the connection is made to the Digitrax command station, you then go into the settings for JMRI, for Dakota Pro specifically, and you want to tell JMRI/Dakota Pro you're using the Digitrax system. In Dakota Pro, you want to go to the Preferences menu, which is under Dakota Pro, then Preferences. On the top of your list here, your first option is the Connections menu. Here you have System Manufacturer, we select Digitrax. Then you have system connection, and we're using the local buffer USB. There are other options. For instance, if you're using a Digitrax PR2, PR3, or PR4, those are other ways to connect. We select local buffer, and then we have to select serial port. Now, the local buffer acts as a USB to serial bridge for the system connection, and that is listed here as the cu.usb dash, and then it will have some letters and numbers representing the serial port. You'll select that option. Finally, under command station type, you will then select the type of command station you have. We have a DCS51, and then we hit save. Dakota Pro will ask you to restart so we can apply the new settings. You hit restart, and now you're connected to your Digitrax system. And so now here, we're back in Dakota Pro after it reset, and you can toggle the track power on and off using the button at the top of the screen, and you can watch on your command station if the track status light goes on and off. If you see that going on and off, you're successfully connected between your laptop and your Digitrax system. Alright, we have all of our connections ready to go. So now I have put my engine on my programming track. I have already programmed this engine, so I know it is 2303, and we'll use that information to find out if Dakota Pro can successfully talk to this engine, and then we'll show how to modify settings and how you go about programming a brand new engine. So now, I'm over here on Dakota Pro. I'm going to hit the new loco button, and we're going to pretend I don't know what kind of decoder is in that engine. So down here is a button that says Read Type from Decoder. And in the bottom of the window, it says Reading Various CVs. This decoder has a Keep Alive in it, so sometimes we have to charge up the Keep Alive before it will run. It looks like right now that's what's happening. Dakota Pro doesn't want to talk to me. So I'm going to take this engine and put it on my regular main track and turn the track power on so that the Keep Alive can charge up.
Just continue.
Alright, so move it over here to our main track. Turn power on our command station. And there we go, the engine start bell goes off. And we know that the decoder and the Keep Alive are charging up. I'm going to let it run for a few seconds so I know it has all the juice it needs. Alright, that's probably okay. And now when I pick this up and move it, you'll see the sound keeps going because it has a Keep Alive. I'll put over here my programming track. Looks good. So we'll see about reading type from decoder. Now I'm waiting to see, okay, now it read the first CV and now it's reading the second CV, so I know it's communicating properly now. So we'll go ahead and let it go through its steps. And now it has given me the option of TSU 1100 Alco diesels, which is what's in this engine. So now that it's picked the correct decoder model, I'm going to go ahead and click the Open Comprehensive Programmer button, and we'll go on to the next step. Here we are in the Comprehensive Programmer, and we're on the first tab, which is our roster entry tab for our engine. I'll go ahead and give this thing an ID number. I'm going to call it JW2303, as that's the engine number. It's a ETSF road name. 2303 is our road number. That is made by Proto 2000. I happen to know that. The owner is JW, and it is an S1. Filling out this information just gives you details so that as you accumulate engines, it's easier to determine which is which. Additionally, if you do any programming for friends, having the owner name in there would let you know if you're programming your S1 or your friend's S1. We go over here to the Basic tab, and everything on this tab is yellow because Dakota Pro doesn't know any of this information yet. What you want to do is you want to go down here and click Read Full Sheet. That will mean Dakota Pro goes and tries to talk to your engine and get all of the values from your decoder to save in Dakota Pro. Once it's properly read that information, the boxes will turn white. If it can't read the information for a given box, it turns red. So we'll go ahead and hit that now. Since this engine has a big Keep Alive in it, it takes a little extra time, and as you can hear, it powers up the decoder as the programming track gets voltage, gets power. I watch on the bottom of the screen where you can see if JMRI is reading any of the different CV values. That lets me know if it's actually going through and getting this data from the decoder. You can also see on the screen here that the boxes are going from yellow to white. And now it says OK at the bottom of the screen, so it's read everything. I'll go again and save the entry at the top of the screen. A few more notes about the basic tab before we move on. I previously programmed this engine, so as you can see under active address, it already has the number 2303. If your engine is straight out of the box, it will come up as 3, as that is the DCC NMRA standard for decoders. Alright, so now that we're done with the basic tab, we're going to move on and skip a few tabs. The first one we'll stop on is the basic speed control tab. This is the tab John showed in a previous video about speed matching, and he talks about it pretty in depth there, so we'll go ahead and move on. I'm going to stop on the function map tab. This tab lets you pick what the buttons on your controller or the buttons on your phone do when you push them. For example, when you push F1, it will play the bell sound. But if you wanted to change F1 so it plays the horn or the steam whistle, you could do that. Or you could have it turn on a light, turn off a light, whatever you want. All of that flexibility exists within the decoder and when you're using Dakota Pro. So just like before, I select the tab I want. I'm going to go down here and tell it to read the full sheet. So as you watch this read through all the advanced functions, you might see at the bottom of the screen it says it's reading CV1.x, like 300 or 225. Those are what's called indexed CVs. You may have heard that term before. Indexed CVs are used on newer decoders because there's so many options. The regular number of CVs was not enough, so they had to create more places to hold more information or more data. And we're still going because there's a lot of stuff on this page, but we wanted to show you how you can tweak all these different things. Here we are in the future, and we have now read all of the function settings on Dakota Pro from our decoder. As you can see on the screen, and with the screen capture we're doing, you can adjust all kinds of settings. For example, our headlight is assigned to the F0 key, as is the backup light. We can say that the headlight only comes on when we're going forward, and the backup light only comes on when we're going in reverse. Additionally, if I had extra lights hooked up, for instance ditch lights, class lights, a light in the cab, a beacon on top, if that was wired to the FX3 wire, which would be one of the extra wires on the decoder, probably the green wire, we can say that right now that is mapped to the F24 button, but I don't have 24 buttons on my controller, so I could make that the F4 button. And now when I press F4, that light would come on. I'll go ahead and change that back to F24 for now. And it goes on and on and on. You can have a half speed button, you can turn momentum on and off, you can have a dimmer, F8 is your mute or your sound on, sound off button. You can adjust all of these things in Dakota Pro. So as you can see here on the lighting tab, I have made some changes, and JMRI Dakota Pro has put little orange yellowish highlights around the boxes. Those show that I've changed those settings, but they have not yet been written to the decoder. Now that I've made those changes, I come down here and I click Write Changes on Sheet. Click that button, and you'll see JMRI now tries to talk to the decoder. The boxes stay red until it has successfully written the settings to the decoder and verified that it successfully made those changes. This is one reason you want to use the programming track, so that JMRI can successfully write the settings and verify that it wrote those settings, and you know that for sure. Once you've written the settings, you're going to want to click the Save button, but as you can see here, it looks like it didn't write my first row of changes. I'll click the Write Changes button again, and we'll see if that works properly. It says it worked properly, so I'll go on up here and hit Save. So after the Function Map tab, we have the Lights tab. And again, this tab has a fair amount of information and settings on it. It won't take nearly as long to read, so we're going to go ahead and ask Dakota Pro to read the sheet. Okay, so now it's finished reading all the settings for the lighting tab, and here is where we would set what the function outputs do. So, is your function output a regular headlight where it just stays on, or is it a Mars light where it needs to flash? Maybe it's a beacon where it blinks at a certain rate, or maybe it's one of your ditch lights where it flashes at a certain rate and then the other ditch light flashes and then it comes back on, etc. As you can see here, for the F0 headlight output, or that's usually your white wire on your decoder, I have it set as a dimmable headlight, but I can make it a Mars light, a gyro light, an oscillating headlight, all kinds of things. For this unit, I'm just going to go ahead and leave it as a headlight. Same thing for the backup light, same thing for your function output 3 and your function output 4. When you come down, if you scroll down on the page here, you can see there are options to adjust the flashing rate. You can adjust the grade crossing flashing rate. The grade crossing rate applies to, you can have a specific button for grade crossings where it blows the horn, your long, short, long, what you need, flashes the lights. You can configure all of that. You can adjust brightnesses, you can adjust the dimmer, all kinds of settings. And that's a quick explanation of your lighting tab. Okay, now we're going to move to the sound tab in Decoder Pro, and this will let you change the sounds on your decoder. The Tsunami 2 decoders come preloaded with a variety of sounds and prime movers and bells and horns and all kinds of things. As you can see here in our Decoder Pro window, everything is yellow because Decoder Pro doesn't know what has been selected. It just shows the default information it has. So we'll go ahead again and read the full sheet and see what it gets from the decoder. Okay, so we took a quick break because we were having trouble reading the engine on the programming track. And as you heard earlier in the video, it would start up and stop and start up and stop. Well, it turns out I was having a problem with my Keep Alive, my capacitor pack. So I popped the shell off, you can see it's loose here, and I took the capacitor pack out, tested it on the main track real quick, and it's working again. So now I'm going to go back into JMRI, into Dakota Pro, and tell it to read the full sheet again. I expect, since I took the Keep Alive out, it'll read right away, and it is. I can see it's going through and reading all of the data on the sound tab here. So it's read all of this over here because this is all white, and it's getting the last little bits here as it goes from yellow to white. So as we can see, we have a setting to increase engine RPM every 7 speed steps. I'm using the Alco 539 non-turbo since the S1 did not have a turbo as far as I know. Got my Leslie horn, I've got a medium fast bell, and a whole bunch of other settings. All this can be adjusted. So let's say real quick, I want to change my horn from the Leslie 3 to the S5T, just for fun. That box goes orange because I made a change. I click Write Changes on Sheet. It goes white, tells me OK at the bottom of the screen, and we're good to go. I'll go up to the top of the screen and click Save so that I have saved my changes to my Dakota profile. That's a quick explanation of the Sound tab. Now to cap things off, we'll move over here to the Sound Levels tab. We're not going to show it reading all of this, it's a lot of information, but here you can adjust the individual sounds for the individual items on the decoder. For example, the air compressor volume, your bell volume, your air conditioner volume, all kinds of things. You can adjust them so that they sound just how you like. If you want your bell louder, your horn quieter, that's all done here on this tab. Okay, we have now finished with the programming track portion of our program today. I've moved the engine to the other track that we're using as our main DCC track. It's hooked up to the main outputs of our command station. And now we're going to do something called programming on the main. Now programming on the main is just like programming on your programming track. The exception is JMRI and Dakota Pro cannot read information out of the decoder back into the computer while you're programming on the main. It's one way instead of two way. It does let you do things like start up the engine, hear the sounds, and then hear things as you change them. So what I'm going to do is go into the file on Dakota Pro, turn on the track power, and we'll experiment with changing the horn, and you can hear it in real time. So here on JMRI, Dakota Pro, I go down here into the right corner, and instead of programming track, I'm going to select programming on main. Then I'm going to go back into my roster, my list of engines, and select the engine we just did, JW2303. Click over here on DCC address, and it brings up the same screens we saw before. Since we're going to work on changing the horn, we'll go to the sound tab, and here we can see we have all of our sound options, and right here, air horn select is my Leslie S3L. So on my controller, I'm going to turn on my track power. Okay, my engine starts up, as it has track power now. Let it get started. Now it's going, I'll hit my horn button. Alright, that's our current horn. Now I'll go into JMRI, Decoder Pro. I'll go from the Leslie S3L, excuse me, to the Wabco A2. I will click Write Changes on Sheet. It says OK on the screen. Now I hit the horn button, and I got a different horn. If you don't like that horn, we can go through our list, and let's go to an Auga klaxon horn. That should sound good. Change our setting. Write Changes on Sheet. Oh, I'm keeping that one, I think, when I get down to the club. That's awesome. But that just shows you how you can easily change things in real time and get feedback. And, well, oh, hey, just for fun, we could give a shout out to our Canadian friends. It's a little O Canada there. Now that horn seemed kind of loud playing O Canada. If I go to my sound levels tab on Decoder Pro, I can find my air horn volume right here. It currently seems to be set at 225. I'm going to change that down to 75 just to go way down here. 75. Right, changes on sheet, and now it's not nearly as loud. And then, because, you know, Canada is a proud nation, go ahead and turn it on back up. That's what happens when your button sticks on your controller and it keeps playing your horn. Anyways, that is our look today at Dakota Pro and some of the advanced things you can do with it, with your programming track and your main track. If you have any questions or comments, hit us up in the comments field. Keep watching TSG for more videos like this. Have a great day, everybody.
Thanks, John. That was a great demonstration. So, now you've seen JMRI in action with Digitrax as well as a Sprague. I'm going to talk to one of my NCE using friends so we can find out how all this works with that system in an upcoming episode. I hope that you've gained some knowledge and have been inspired to find out more. If you saw a product or a concept that you want to learn more about, head over to your favorite internet search engine, type it in, and then let us all know what you found out by sharing it as a comment in the comments section below. You can download JMRI and get the answer to just about any question you might have over at jmri.org. While you're there, you can also make a donation so that JMRI will continue to be free. So, what do you think? Did you learn something new? Did I forget something? Let us know in the comments. Did you know you can help ensure programs like this will continue to be made by supporting TSG Multimedia on Patreon? Head over to patreon.com/TSG Multimedia to find out more. Thanks for watching and make it a great day.